アリゾナのところまで行くんだよ。
アリゾナが船にアリゾナがどうやってなんか潜ったとかそういうのはなかった。
なかったね。そうだね。よく分かってるね。いやパパもどうやってアリゾナが沈んだのかっていう話があるかと思ったらなかったね。具体的なのは。
あれ？あの白いの？
そう。
ちょっと曲がった。
During your time on board. Once we approach the USS Arizona Memorial, the U.S. Navy will maneuver the boat so that everyone has an opportunity to take photos. But again, no standing is permitted for the duration of the ride. If you have any questions during your visit today, please speak with a National Park Service representative after you return to the Visitor Center. Once again, welcome to World War II Valor in the Pacific National Monument, which is the proud home of the USS Arizona Memorial, the USS Oklahoma Memorial, and the USS Utah Memorial. Today, the U.S. Navy and the National Park Service will take you on a harbor tour of Pearl Harbor and bring you close to the USS Arizona Memorial and the valiant ship that lies beneath. We are now in the south channel of Pearl Harbor, where the infamous Battleship Row was once located along the southern coast of Ford Island and off the bow of the boat as we cross the harbor. It is here that the great warships of America's Pacific Fleet were moored on the morning of December 7, 1941. From right to left, there was the USS Nevada, Arizona, the repair ship Vestal, the Tennessee, West Virginia, Maryland, Oklahoma, and a bit farther down, the California. An 8th battleship, Pennsylvania, was nearby in dry dock undergoing repairs. The battleship Utah still rests on the bottom of the harbor in a short distance from shore on the opposite side of Ford Island. The mighty battleships were the backbone of the Pacific Fleet, and each boasted a crew of nearly 1,500 men. In all, almost 200 American vessels were located in Pearl Harbor that day. Off the starboard bow, or right front, of the boat, you can still see the white concrete mooring keys that continue to display some of these names. The battleships that came to Pearl Harbor back then did not drop anchor to secure their position. Instead, they were tied to these white concrete blocks that were built in the 1930s. The Pacific Fleet tended to tie two ships together, one inboard, closest to the keys, and one outboard. If you look closely, you can still see strafing and shrapnel damage on some of their sides. Ford Island Bridge is to the right. The mooring key closest to the bridge was reserved for the USS Nevada. The Nevada was the only battleship to get underway during the attack on Oahu. She pulled out just before 9 o'clock, after the first wave of planes had left, and valiantly headed towards the sea. At the same time, Japanese planes from the second wave were flying over Diamond Head on the southeast side of the island to continue the attack on Pearl Harbor. As they arrived, they saw this great warship moving out of the harbor and began to attack. She was badly damaged by Japanese dive bombers and torpedo planes, and eventually was purposely run aground on a coral ledge to avoid sinking. Almost 60 USS Nevada crew members lost their lives in this short time. Despite this great sacrifice, Nevada's attempted exit was met with cheers from other sailors and Marines witnessing the attack and served as a morale boost for many. Following an extensive salvage operation, the USS Nevada's guns boomed once again as she provided fire support for Americans who stormed the beaches of Normandy, southern France, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. Continuing on, the attack on Pearl Harbor began at 7:55 a.m., with torpedo planes coming in waves from both the north and south, while flying at an altitude of only 30 feet. The first few torpedoes slammed into the hull of the USS of her crew first set foot on Hawaiian soil years ago. The West Virginia, Tennessee, Maryland, California, and Pennsylvania were all damaged to varying degrees during the attack, losing almost 250 crew members among them. Despite sustaining serious damage and settling to the harbor floor following the attack, the West Virginia and California were salvaged and put back into service as well. Both of them would play a vital role in the coming conflict in the Pacific. Now we are coming close to the USS Arizona Memorial. On December 7, 1941, the USS Arizona was moored here next to the USS Vestal, a smaller repair ship. At 7:55 a.m., the ship's air raid alarm went off, and the ship soon went to general quarters, the call for all hands to go to their battle stations immediately. For the next 10 minutes, the men of the Arizona endured strafing from incoming Japanese planes and bombs from Nakajima B-5N Kate torpedo bombers, which carried armor-piercing shells modified into 800-kilogram or 1,750-pound bombs. At 8:06 a.m., a fatal blow struck the Arizona. The Japanese bomb cut the USS Arizona band, 23 sets of brothers, and even a father and his son.
記念碑、まあだからモニュメントなんだよ。上に箱を乗せてるだけだよ。
The mighty Arizona was just over 600 feet long per day, about the length of 2 American football fields. In fact, the white buoy you see to the right of the memorial is tied to the stern of the ship, and the one to the left is tied to its bow. Although she would never be returned to service, 2 of Arizona's gun units were salvaged for later use as coastal defenses. The round, rusty object you see sticking out of the water to the right of the memorial is the former platform for gun turret number 3. On December 6, 1941, just one day before the attack, the USS Arizona had taken on almost 1.4 million gallons of fuel oil in preparation for an upcoming trip to the mainland. Much of that oil caught fire and burned following the attack. However, the fuel that The USS Arizona Memorial is 184 feet long and is suspended directly over, but not touching, the wreckage of the USS Arizona. It was completed in 1962 and dedicated on Memorial Day that year. The designer and architect was Alfred Price, who created 3 main parts: the entry room, assembly room, and shrine room. You'll notice that the memorial has 2 peaks on each end and sags in the center. Mr. Price stated that his design represented American pride before the attack, the sudden depression that followed it, and America's eventual rise to victory at the end of the war. At the very back of the memorial, nearest to Ford Island, is the shrine room. Covering its back wall are the names of 1,177 American servicemen who died on board. That is the